I became interested in writing systems of equations for rates that are written as 1 times faster, 2 times faster, 3 times faster, and so on, and realized that there is a relationship to a system of equations for tax. So if the tax is 8.5%, that means that the total amount is 85 hundredths times as much. Now the original problem was two friends that are riding towards each other, and you figure out at what time do they meet. So this is a link to the original problem. This is a link to the images used in this video because there's a lot of images. You might want to slow down, take a look at individual images. In the same folder is a PDF of those images. That might be easier for you to use. So this is the same link. So first of all, let's look at an arrow diagram. If two friends are riding towards each other, and one friend, we're going to call him rider number 1, is riding 1 times as fast as rider number 2. They're actually riding at the same speed. And the key to this is to figure out what 1 part is. And so you have to look at this and you have to divide that 6 miles into 2 equal parts. And so they both ride 3 miles in 30 minutes. That means they're both riding at the same speed, 3 miles in 30 minutes. Which is 6 miles and 30 minutes, a combined speed of 6 miles and 30 minutes, which is 12 miles per hour. Now, if rider number 1 is riding twice as fast, that means you have to look at 3 parts. So you have to add this part, that is rider number 2. So now you have 3 parts. 6 divided by 3 parts is 2 miles per part. So rider number 2 is riding 2 miles, that's 1 part, and then rider number 1 is riding twice as fast. So 2 parts compared to 1 part, that's 4 miles compared to 2 miles. And so 4 miles in 30 minutes, 2 miles in 30 minutes. So rider number 1 is riding twice as fast as rider number 2. Well, what about 3 times as fast? And so now you have to remember to include the 1 part for rider number 2. So now you have to look at 4 parts. Divide 6 miles into 4 equal parts. One of those parts is rider number 2. The other 3 parts is 3 times as fast. So that's 1.5 miles per part, or 4.5 miles total. So 4.5 miles in 30 minutes is 3 times as fast as 1.5 miles per 30 minutes. Remember, their combined speed is always the same, 6 miles per 30 minutes, or 12 miles per hour. 4 times as fast, so 6 miles divided by 5 equal parts. So you have to add 1 more part to get what is equal to rider number 2. And then rider number 1 is 4 times that. So 6 divided by 5 is 1 2/10 miles. That's 1 part. That's the distance that rider number 2 is riding. And then 4 times as much is 4 8/10 miles. So the speed, 4 8/10 miles per 30 minutes, 1 2/10 miles per 30 minutes. This is 4 times as fast. And remember, their combined speed is always in these problems going to be 6 miles in 30 minutes, or 12 miles per hour. 5 times as fast, that's 6 equal parts. This is 5 times this 1 part. What's 6 divided by 6 is 1 mile. So rider number 1 rides these 5 miles. Rider number 2 rides 1 mile in 30 minutes. So rider number 1 is riding 5 times as fast. And combined speed, once again, is 6 miles in 30 minutes, or 12 miles per hour. Then what we can do is put them on a coordinate grid, look at the system of equations. And so now we have those arrow diagrams essentially become the y-axis. So 2 equal parts, 3 miles per part. This is the slope or the speed of rider number 1, slope or speed of rider number 2. And also I'm going to change everything to percent. So 1 part is 100%, and then how many times faster is the rest of it. So 2 times as fast. You have to divide 6 miles into 3 equal parts. This is 100%. This is rider number 2, 100%, 100%. This is twice as fast, or twice as much. So look at the total amount is 300% of 2 miles, which is equal to 6 miles. But how many times faster for rider number 1 is 200% of 2 miles, which would be 4 miles. 3 times as fast. So 100%, and then 3 times as much. 4 times as fast, 100%, and then 4 times as much. 5 times as fast, 100%, and then 5 times as much. So you have to divide 6 miles into 6 equal parts. One of those parts is rider number 2. The rest of it, 5 times as much as rider number 1. That's 600% of 1 mile, so that's 6 miles total. All right, so now if you pick some odd times, it really becomes clear of what's going on. So let's say it's 2.5 times as fast. We have to add this one part. This is rider number 2. So rider number 2 rides a single distance, which is measured as a part of that 6 miles. And then rider number 1 is 2.5 times as much. So that's 3.5 total parts. Well, so what's one part? What's the distance that rider number 2 travels? That's 6 divided by 3.5 is equal to 1 71/100 miles. So this is just an equivalent ratio or a proportion. 6 to 3.5 miles is the same as 1 71/100 miles to 1 part. So this tells you what 100% is. And then the rest of this is 100% plus 100% plus 50%. So that's the 2.5 times as much. A really odd time. So 1 623 thousandths times as fast. So you have to add that one part. So now you get an idea of what's going on. You always have to add that one part. That's rider number 2. And so now you have 2 623 thousandths parts. So what's one distance? What's one part equal to? That's rider number 2. That's 6 divided by 2 623 thousandths. So it's 2 287 thousandths miles. That's one part. That's rider number 2. Then rider number 1 is the rest of this that add to equal 6 miles. So this is one part. This is the 100% right here for rider number 1. And this is the 62 3/10% right here for rider number 1. So this adds to 1 623 thousandths times as much as this one part. Total amount, 262 3/10% of 2 287 thousandths miles. So the numbers get to be odd because I'm choosing difficult numbers. Hopefully that reveals the pattern. And one more, what if you look at tax? Well, tax in this case is 8.75%. So that's 8.75% as much as the bill. The bill is one part plus the tax. So that's the total amount. And let's say it costs $44.59. So you have to divide that $44.59 divided by the bill with the tax. And that tells you what the bill is without the tax. It's $41 for one part. So this is that one part. That's 100%. This is what the meal cost, $41. And you have to add that 8.75%, which is the tax. So the total amount is 108.75%, 108% plus 0.75% of $41. So you do that multiplication. That's as much as $41, and you end up with the final bill of $44.59.